Howdys and salutations, y'all. Hope you're having a good one. I'm going to give a heads up right now, and I apologize because I've loved the high energy we've had for these streams last week. I'm exhausted for the dumbest reason ever. I stayed up late folding laundry. So, I'm just going to do some quick details on the helmet, or maybe like a little bit with the face, but we're probably not going to do anything crazy progress today, although we'll see. This is definitely something that I can do even when I'm not in hyper focus mode. Like, there's like the laying out proportions and stuff, I need more focus, but this bit is a little more low key. That said, I still enjoy when we do have a little better energy going into these. I know it makes more exciting watching and all that jazz. So we're probably going to keep this one a short one, and I'll catch up on some sleep, and we will hopefully pop off tomorrow. But I do want to make some tangible progress. Let's see. Yeah, first off, I'll hide all these fun colors. I've been doing colors for the thumbnails. They're not in any way going to be final lighting or shading or any such. They're just fun to have. Let's get our roughs back in here. Especially around the face, I know we've diverged a little bit. Where's the other color? Helm soft shading. There we go. Cool. Okay, so that's the helm. Obviously, there's more to do with the helm. Pauldron, cloak, outlines are all going to just be one thing right now. Oh, I really should have just dunked them all in the shadow value blocking section instead of in their respective little... Okay, well anyway, we'll deal with that another time. Because we're still in the fine detail outline phase. Told y'all this would probably take the longest. Let's see, what do we want to do? Honestly, I'm feeling tired, so I may do something super nitpicky that's going to be draining anyway. So I may, the face I think is going to be comparatively easy because much like the cloth, a lot of the interest of the face is going to be coming from, well, like the shading and gradients there. And I hope I'm able to pull that off because that's something that I have a little less experience with than I do the line work. So we're just going to sort of see. But yeah, let's get a new folder even going for this. Yeah. We'll call this face neck. Kind of makes sense to keep those together. I was just labeling these what they were, so let's just do neck. There's not going to be a lot to this one. Let's see, there we go. I knew why it's feeling off. I need to look up how to like get that to properly like change with the context of which program it's in, because that part's not working right now. Okay, so let's see. We've really got hair coming out fairly low, so I may just stick to this line as it is. Kind of eases into the cloth. I've noticed now that I didn't get the fluff all the way around in the back, but that's mostly in shadow, so that should be fine. Okay, that's a line. I mean, like this one, again, so much of it is going to be not at this phase that I figure it's going to be a pretty quick one to throw down. That said, there's still some stuff that I'll have to think through, especially with the shift of where that's landing. I notice not a lot in terms of like actual defined anything there. I'll leave a little mark. And then this will just be kind of like a gradient guideline. Trying not to do too much of that, but... This part's supposed to end theoretically before the point of that, but not like crazy before it. I would like it to be a little smoother, especially in this bit right here. It's a fairly long neck, but proportionally it doesn't look particularly longer than in the actual reference. So, like, I think that's just sort of the pose. And yeah, maybe a little wider would make it look slightly better. But, like, I'm not even sure I'd bank on that, truthfully. I mean, if we really wanted to mess with it, we could just scoot this line up a little bit. Hide the roughs. Yeah, I mean, that looks good. I'm content with that. Yeah, not much on that layer, but I still don't think it makes sense to merge it with another layer. Face, we'll see. This is obviously less impactful than it is on most characters for Malenia, because so much is obscured by the helm, which is why we're focusing so much of our energy there. Most of that, like the outer edge, is going to be obscured, but it is going to give a little guideline to the shadow that's ultimately going to go up like that, so, you know. And then there's obviously some amount of nose. There we go, that's a proper nose shape. Some amount that's going to be a little bit visible inside the helmet, as we saw last time. Zoop. Pretty steep angle on that one. And then the mouth. Mouth is going to be a slight challenge, because there's a little more we need to clean up on it first. So I want to deal with anything that isn't it first. And once again, this is going to be more of a shadow guideline than anything. Zoop. Not messing too much with shadow guidelines, but that one's an important one. Let's see. Okay, so there's room to improve this. Bring this point down a little more. It has an arc, and then it curves down. And then this top part stays level at first, but ultimately also angles down and curves around. That leaves just enough space for like a little bit of an opening to visible. That's too much. That even. And then this can sort of arc upwards. But not that second part, because it kind of ultimately goes more like this. Even then, maybe like a little further out. The apex ought to be angled differently. There we go. Ah, but yes, there is the slight challenge that there is just the ever faintest uptick. Stupid subtle. Ah, nope. Oh, I've not had the proper... Not all the lines looked really heavy. Okay, there we go. Not 100% the same, but a lot of that is, I think, due to the shading that could go there. That'll make that look a little more delicate, which I guess is the goal. I don't really know. I'm not good at describing or thinking about face shapes. Interesting shadow stuff going on with that. That'll be fun to do when we get to it. But I think that's probably good for the face. So that's the end of the stream. No, I'm kidding. I'll give a little more than that. But like, yeah, that one's... Genuinely, it's not really... The face isn't the focal point of this character, which is interesting. At least not yet. Not in this phase. Later on in the fight, you could say it becomes more of one. Okay, let's see. Wasn't super happy with these lines, as I recall. Because we had that on... Was that on the underhelm? One of them was. It was on the helm base, wasn't it? Cool. Well, we can make both of those a little lighter. And this one. Don't think we need this alignment layer for it anymore, so I'm going to let that one go. But I'm going to add a new layer, which I'm just going to call Grill. And we're going to see, because what's there isn't horrible. I just think we can do better. With like a little bit of planning. But I don't know. We'll see. Again, this stream's probably going to only go an hour, and it's probably going to wrap with this little experiment, because I definitely don't have the patience to properly figure out the scale needed to make the feathers and that look great. And hair is kind of its own deal that it's going to be interesting in the line work layer. But if we keep up at our current pace, not curtain pace, I think that it is fairly likely that next stream will be the last of our line work stuff, and we can move into maybe even tomorrow, or at the very latest Thursday, barring obviously any other complications, we'll be able to start jumping into shading. And that's going to be fun because, well, not shading inherently. We're going to get flats in there first. Then we'll get some colors based on those flats. And some fun shading, all that hoo-ha that I haven't messed with in quite some time. So bear with me if I'm a little rusty on it. I haven't used blend tools or like actual smooth lighting in art in... I mean, I do it actually a fair bit with pencil, but like... Well, even then I tend to veer away from it. I have always really liked cell shady approaches, and we'll set this up so that we can do both. Be easy enough. Like the line work would be the same. Cell shading, we would obviously just add different lines, deal with the shadows. And we can give it both. We can see what comes of it. Wow, I really do get more of a stutter when I'm tired. I mean, I have a little bit of one, or it's not even a stutter. It's just word get ahead of brain. And so brain, rather than pausing, decides to just repeat last syllable until brain catches up. And, yeah, I know I said brain catches up with itself, but that's basically what's happening. There's different, like, processes going on at the same time, and it's just like, well, we're waiting on the other one. Just put it in loop. Throw that jam on repeat. Okay, issue one with that is it might be too tall, but like not with, at this point it's a little late to mess with that. And I don't know that I can mess with it in a way that would make it better anyway, so. And that's just me copying it. And I can copy and paste that across the whole section, but like that's not really great. I think what I'd rather do, this grill layer, I don't know that it's going to get us anywhere good. What I will do, which is take helm base. I'm just going to follow along on this one. Let's see. There we go. And now if we hide under helm, that's still basically there. Okay, we can make that part better. Yep. Okay. And then I'm gonna take the one on under helm and I'm gonna just put it away permanently. Thank you for being cool, but I accidentally put you on the wrong layer, and copying you over with the copy and paste would be excessive for what we're trying to do and might mess with the layer type. So, shouldn't if they're both vector, but I ain't risking it. We're putting away grill for now. In fact, I'm just gonna toss it. If we need a new one, we can do it. But we're getting helm base back in here. Pop that out. We can make the knot work a little more faint. But actually, I kind of need it as a reference. So, I guess we're just going to be working with this as it is. Okay, helm base. Also, I'm putting away the draft. I want to make sure that any stray lines are actually, stray lines like these things. That one. Okay, because the thing that I want to capture on here is that they look, well, less in the front, but especially in the back, they look like they're starting to arc back in a little bit. And I just want to make sure we're getting that hint of it. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It ought to be the sense that we're moving back towards that again. Okay. Actually, kind of like most of the wonky points, this one I'm going to round off a little bit. And this one I'm going to do that. Get a little more even. Down here that we start to get the issues with them getting just a little too far down on the head. Because again, this isn't a final ink slayer. This is just basically the final outline before we really go in and do nice line work. I guess, you know, instead of flats, we could do inks next. That would also be a good option. Might make a certain amount of sense. Yeah, maybe that's what we'll be doing, is we'll start on the actual, like, inks. Got a few options with that, too, truth be told. What's going on behind there? How much of that is... Okay, good. Important thing, make that not tangent with the nose so we can actually see the nose and helm through it. And good that these start to arc forward. Not quite as far down, please. Clean up loose ends up there. Have that be arcing in again. Similar deal here. Even like on that side, we'll see. I realize it's actually less prominent in the original on these front ones, but I think it's still reasonable. And that one's already kind of got it going on, so let's see. Do we want these to even continue? Yeah, I think I know what I got to do on this one. Wow, okay, how many pieces was this one in? Sure. But I think we need one more. That goes reasonably distanced. We won't be able to see much of the nose in there, but we'll see a little bit. I think that's okay, truthfully. Just down a little bit. Some tweaks, nothing crazy. Because, as I've just noticed, there's one important little detail that I missed. You can see some of them through on the other side. We'll definitely try to capture those and capture a little bit of where this piece starts to flare back in. Nothing crazy, not super prominent, but it's there. The ability to move lines. Vectors are just way too cool. Okay. I just feel like this one ought to tilt like a little bit more. Like not quite as prominently as the next one. Like just a really subtle one around this edge. But I also still want to make sure we're actually capturing the nose in there and the edge of the underhelm. So we'll have to be careful with how we do this. That might get tweaked in inks, but I think it's better. And I think overall that's a little better than it was. Although all this still feels comparatively too high. As though the back edge entirely is like coming down too far. It won't let me choose more than one at a time. Oh well. There's always the other way of doing that. Mess with the hair a bit. But well, it doesn't look bad. Certainly works better for the helm top itself. Makes all this seem closer to where it ought to be. But how does it look relative to all this? Actually, it's a fairly minor tweak, so that should still be fine. Okay, well. I don't know that it's a good idea for Sleepy Me to be making tweaks of this sort. But we're going to try it, and we'll come back and look at it next time and see where that gets us. Okay, well, I could bring these down a little more, but I don't know that I feel the need to, really. I guess the one thing we could do is still kick this curve, like the counter curve up here, like up a little more. There we go, something like that. Oh, I put that on the underhelm, didn't I? Dagnabbit. It's still not quite the right line anyway, so let's just put it on the correct layer this time, shall we? Oh, that was all great until it wasn't. The joys of vectors, we can fix that. Technically, you don't need vectors to fix this part, but, you know, still what I'm using, so it's still technically true. Adjacent to the joys of vectors, we can fix this. That would really require me to adjust the arc of the whole back, wouldn't it? Like, even more. Let's smooth into that, and I don't know that I really want to do that. I mean, it doesn't mess with the proportions on anything else, so that's... Oops. That's a point in the column of we can try it. Something like that, though. Small and simple. Ease into it a little bit. Clarify some things. I've made that a little overly faint, haven't I? Also a little overly high. That'll do. Okay. Well, let's take a little peek at what we're in for up here. Okay, let's... Honestly, A, I'm tossing everything that's in here so far. I don't think that this is... These are ad hoc. None of them flow particularly well, except maybe this lone top one, and I'm not even confident it was in the right place. So let's just have a fresh start on this. Not burdened by past mistakes. Oops. Hopefully also not burdened by present or future ones. Inevitable though those may be. There's a couple different ways we could try to sort this out. One of them being, once again, just going in with high proportions. I'm gonna get a big ol' alignment thing. Let's get one in here. We aren't breaking anything important. Sorted. Really. We got two options, basically. I can go in and try to figure out the exact proportions, starting broad and getting narrow, so we'll block in some big shapes. Part of it being the, for lack of a better word, like almost, it's not stem, but the key piece over here. Fairly structural. Then relative to the gap, there's roughly a block that goes over here, even higher. Occupies the left 2/3 of that. And there is a second block that basically continues up and does the same thing. And that at least tells us roughly where things need to be. Alternatively, and I don't know that it works so well on this one, but it might work on this outer edge, is let's think about the silhouette first. Let's figure out the best, like one way to get the proper sizes of these feathers. A is to admit that this line should really be doing something like this. It doesn't quite point up. Okay, it's somewhere between the two. Somewhere arc up to the top of that. Yeah. No vector lines here, so we're just erasing the old-fashioned way, but that's okay for what we're doing. There we go. But yeah, we can use these outer ones and figure out where the silhouette should be. And that might make it easier to figure out the proportions of what these feathers ought to be. The fact that there's one feather that does that, and then another feather that takes it to the end. And then that's basically it for this upper part. And down here, what are we looking at? Relative to this gap, there is just one more. I'm going to think about this super geometrically for the record. Down here, let's think about height ranges. Yeah, again, use whatever proportions we got. So directly across from where it anchors, there's roughly, okay, obviously we've got a slight tilt issue. So I can use the outer part of the helm, or I can use the anchor point of the helm. I'm inclined just relative to this, because, you know, we don't have to actually recreate this exactly. We just want to create a similar effect of feathers. Yeah, this is another one of those. Some part of it's too tall, and I'm not entirely sure what, but it's a little late to fix it, so we're going to run with it, and I think it still will look good. May well be the helmet as a whole. It's the helmet as a whole. Yep, okay. That is technically something we can fix, but not something right away. So the part of that that I would want to mess with fixing, or mess with for relatives, is this piece over here. And it's roughly about right, because you can see that if we go straight across, it's intersecting slightly above halfway. And over here, it's really intersecting exactly at halfway. So it's not ideal, but it's reasonably good facsimile for what we need. So we think we've got like How many above where this meets across? There's two in. There's really three to get to this point from up here. They're not all the same. But roughly triangles there. So there we got a few more, and then let's see, about halfway down from that. So at this layer, we're going to get some interesting stuff on the outside, where we're going to shift more towards a arcing up to it rather than just stay directly at it. Oops, I don't like that tangent. Still going to be a weird tangent. You can even see that's what we were sort of getting at down here. Like, I was getting them way too small. Solution for this tangent is to do a different sort of angle on that. Just fine. Okay, so we have a sort of silhouette of how many feathers we're dealing with here. Doesn't change the fact that this one, which is pretty much always going to intersect between where those are, except it's not like directly across, sometimes it's down a bit. That does mean the numbers need to line up. We've obviously got the one here. That one points somewhere in there. This one ends up between these two. This one ends up in between there. This one is going to end up somewhere over here. Basically, it just needs to keep arcing a little more down each time. Or at least arcing somewhat down. And that one deeper in. And it doesn't have to be a one-to-one. It's easier when it is. Yeah, I thought we had too many down here, but that's okay. That cluster will force them to be smaller, which actually matches what's going on the helm. So that should be reasonably helpful there. We can think through some vaguely similar stuff up top, although there's a lot less to deal with. There are some like middle ones in here. There's just like two that are just kind of chilling in here, not caring about what else anyone's doing. I guess this one even ultimately gets all the way back, kind of its point. So this kind of comes up, goes down. There's another one. Presumably this one kind of arcs in here. This one actually also tries to arc its way in there. This one is trying to sneak its way in between the two. This one is going to be just sneaking its way above it. Then this one kind of arcs in with it. Cool, that makes a nice pinch, some interesting texture. Works well with the feathery patterns. Yeah. It's already looking a lot closer than it did last time. And honestly, even in my drowsy mind, I know that's a pretty good example of a common thing that's easy to do in art just all over the place, and it's a mistake I've certainly made before. It's jump into the details before you figure out the proportions. And sometimes it's hard to know when you need to do what, or which. But like generally, when I find that I've got a bunch of details that just aren't lining up, I have to go in and deal with the proportions first. Speaking of, how do we want to handle this? So looking at these both at similar scale, it's obviously, ooh, no. It's obviously, no. And thank you. Make it a little bigger. A little fainter, but like, it'll work. Makes it easy to see that the helmet's a little squished. And the fins actually seem well proportioned, but too short. Which is not what I expected, but I'll take it. Probably related to the helmet being too short, truthfully. Also not a terrible time. That's going to flip our reference there, but we can do a similar deal here, I believe. Or am I going to have to go to transform flip? I know there's an option to do it for the whole thing and not just this. Oh, maybe it's here. Okay, yeah, let's zoom this in a little bit and see how we look flipped. Always another good way to check proportions, make sure stuff looks decent. Yeah, I mean, the helmet's definitely looking a little squashed to me. Although, interestingly, now from this angle, it looks like it's squashed from the front rather than the back. Which isn't really what I expected. It kind of makes sense. Guess we could also do a vertical flip, just really like... But yeah, I don't know. Really, the helm looks more okay like this. This view is showing me exactly how much I've not quite tilted the shoulders enough, but I think that's generally speaking okay. Because while this isn't as far in this angle up as it should be, the pauldron's also angling really strongly down. Like it's still got a strong enough contrast that I'm not worried about that one. I'm a little worried about the helmet though. I mean, one option, and I'm only messing with the topper right now, but it would actually work with the knotwork because I tried to keep the knotwork more true to the original. Let's go on the topper. Yep. I see there's some straight lines. That's okay. Really bring it in closer like this. Like this arc ought to be further down. This arc ought to join it. Topper itself goes like this, and then kind of arcs its way down. Part of me that's still telling me like, no, make it more flat on the front. And I'm like inclined to agree just a tiny bit, but like maybe not even that much. But still, let's pull this off. Let's wonder which stinking layer that's on. It could be so many of them. No. On helm base. Fair enough, I guess. We're putting that away. And has that helped? There's one way to check. It feels less wrong. But yeah, the front. I trusted my gut or I trusted my brain instinct instead of my gut instinct, and once again, it lied to me. It lied to me. So we're gonna round this off a little bit. Not like a crazy bit, but like a bit. Oh no, are you kidding me? I did all that on helm base? Okay. On the topper layer with the mechanical pencil in the kitchen. That's where I committed the bad line. I'm not actually in the kitchen right now. Again, Helm base here to haunt me. My brain's telling me that this isn't going to look right. Let's find out. Flip-flop it around. Do the same. I gotta say, I didn't think the whole flippy thing would work, but like it really does help make it more obvious where stuff is off. For example, this one's still off. I need to find a middle ground between the two things I was attempting. I think the interesting point that I'm noticing here is that the highest point, quote unquote, is actually back here. And it's a slow taper forward since then, and then a slow taper, or very rapid taper. Maybe we're on top of right? Yeah, okay. Let's not mess with that part. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. There we go. Okay, hopefully that's the last of that misplaced nonsense that we're going to have to sort out. Okay, so we've got it coming up from the back. And it really peaks like above and slightly behind this knot. Like there. And then it starts its apex, or starts its returned upward movement relative to us right now. But it's still not like, let's see, it only really even reaches the same height as the back of the wing over here. So like we're roughly in the right place, I suppose. I'd just like a little more arc to it, if you'd be so kind. And then it starts a pretty rapid ascent upwards. Now the question is what's the angle of this curve? It's too steep right now, but something like that might be more suitable. Now we've still got our lowest point a little far forward. Let's go ahead and try to remedy that. Oh, wow, if I was trying to trace that previous line, that would have been awesome. Unfortunately, I wasn't, so it was actually not helpful. But okay, so zooming out. I mean, we'll need to smooth the line a little bit there, but otherwise, this seems to follow considerably better. Not perfectly, mind, but considerably better. Let's see how this all looks right-sized. Boxy. Boxy, but mostly correct. This helm, it's hard to figure out horizontal versus vertical. I still think, I mean, looking at the proportions, it comes out the right amount to the front and the back. But looking at it overall, my brain's like, hey, you've not got this part long enough, so to speak. Where is that length that I'm missing, or perceiving that I'm missing? Maybe it is further in the back, but it really only comes to this point over the collar, which is right. Height-wise, it's about correct. I mean, mostly. I don't know if like this whole top needs to come down a little bit, which would be slightly complicated. Especially because I think the front is good. But it's just... That could potentially require redrawing, which I don't think would be worth the effort, truthfully. And flatten it out a little bit, see if that gets us a little more a little less vertical, a little more horizontal, help that. Because the problem is it's not like one spot where it's obviously wrong, at least not that my eyes are picking up on. It's just there's got to be some like whole mix of like little slightly off sections that have added up to. That helped. Again, I need to make this less triangle. I know I have vector tools for this, but like, oh man, definitely undid a actually decent line back there. There we go. That's already looking better. Enough better that I'm not going to worry too much about the other stuff, other than trying to smooth out some angles back here. so that it seems less dramatic. Oh, that shouldn't be on the topper, though. You're right. That should be on helm base, which almost did it just right back the other way from what I'd done before. We're going to smooth that one. Going to arc that. That should make that a little less steep in appearance, and maybe will also help with it. It's still, it's still not perfect, but I think that's actually better than where we were. I also think that with this alignment layer we've got going on the wings, we'll be able to get those and the hair going without issue tomorrow. And I think I'm gonna have to call it there for tonight. I am fading real fast. I am super sorry about that, y'all. But the benefit is that if I call it quick tonight, that should give me the opportunity to get some more sleep and have the energy again tomorrow. Because I seriously got less than 6 hours of sleep last night because I had so much laundry to fold. And then making bed, I don't know how that happened. So very silly of me. That's entirely my own doing. So whatever time it may be where you're at, morning, afternoon, evening, night, 3 a.m., whatever it may happen to be, I hope that you have a good one, good rest of the day, good rest of tomorrow, and hope I see y'all next time. Have a good one.